Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 3. Bruneseau. The sewer of Paris in the Middle Ages was legendary. In the 16th century, Henry II attempted a bore which failed. Not 100 years ago, the cesspool, Mercier attests the fact, was abandoned to itself and fared as best it might. Such was this ancient Paris, delivered over to quarrels, to indecision, and to gropings. It was tolerably stupid for a long time. Later on, 89 showed how understanding comes to cities. But in the good old times, the capital had not much head. It did not know how to manage its own affairs, either morally or materially, and could not sweep out filth any better than it could abuses. Everything presented an obstacle. Everything raised a question. The sewer, for example, was refractory to every itinerary. One could no more find one's bearings in the sewer than one could understand one's position in the city, above the unintelligible, below the inextricable. Beneath the confusion of tongues, there reigned the confusion of caverns. Daedalus backed up Babel. Sometimes the Paris sewer took a notion to overflow, as though this misunderstood Nile were suddenly seized with a fit of rage. There occurred, infamous to relate, inundations in the sewer. At times, the stomach of civilization digested badly. The cesspool flowed back into the throat of the city, and Paris got an aftertaste of her own filth. These resemblances of the sewer to remorse had their good points. They were warnings, very badly accepted, however. The city waxed indignant at the audacity of its mire, and did not admit that the filth should return. Drive it out better. The inundation of 1802 is one of the actual memories of Parisians of the age of 80. The mud spread in cross form over the Place des Victoires, where stands the statue of Louis XIV. It entered the Rue Saint-Honor by the two mouths to the sewer in the Camp Elysees, the Rue Saint-Florentin through the Saint Florentin sewer, the Rue Père et Poisson through the sewer de la Seigneurie, the Rue Popincourt through the sewer of the Chemin Vert, the Rue de la Roquette through the sewer of the Rue des Laps. It covered the drain of the Rue des Campelets to the height of 35 centimeters, and to the south through the vent of the Seine, performing its functions in inverse sense. It penetrated the Rue Mazarine, the Rue de la Chaude, and the Rue des Murailles, where it stopped at a distance of 109 meters, a few paces distant from the house in which Racine had lived, respecting, in the 17th century, the poet more than the king. It attained its maximum depth in the Rue Saint-Pierre, where it rose to the height of 3 feet above the flagstones of the waterspout, and its maximum length in the Rue Saint-Sabin, where it spread out over a stretch 238 meters in length. At the beginning of this century, the sewer of Paris was still a mysterious place. Mud can never enjoy a good fame, but in this case, its evil renown reached the verge of the terrible. Paris knew, in a confused way, that she had under her a terrible cavern. People talked of it as of that monstrous bed of Thebes in which swarmed centipedes 15 long feet in length, and which might have served Behemoth for a bathtub. The great boots of the sewermen never ventured further than certain well-known points. We were then very near the epoch when the scavengers' carts, from the summit of which Saint Foy, fraternized with the Marquis de Cray, discharged their loads directly into the sewer. As for cleaning out, that function was entrusted to the pouring rains which encumbered rather than swept away. Rome left some poetry to her sewer and called it the Gemini. Paris insulted hers and entitled it the Polypus Hole. Science and superstition were in accord, in horror. Polypus Hole was no less repugnant to hygiene than to legend. The goblin was developed under the fetid covering of the Mouffetard sewer. The corpses of the marmosets had been cast into the sewer de la Barrelli. Fagon attributed the redoubtable malignant fever of 1685 to the great hiatus of the sewer of the Marais, which remained yawning until 1833 in the Rue St. Louis, almost opposite the sign of the Gallant Messenger. The mouth of the sewer of the Rue de la Morelli was celebrated for the pestilences which had their source there, with its grating of iron, with points simulating a row of teeth. It was like a dragon's maw in that fatal street, breathing forth hell upon men. The popular imagination seasoned the somber Parisian sink with some indescribably hideous intermixture of the infinite. The sewer had no bottom. The sewer was the lower world. The idea of exploring these leprous regions did not even occur to the police. To try that unknown thing, to cast the plummet into that shadow, to set out on a voyage of discovery in that abyss. Who would have dared? It was alarming. Nevertheless, someone did present himself. The cesspool had its Christopher Columbus. One day in 1805, during one of the rare apparitions which the Emperor made in Paris, the Minister of the Interior, some Decret or Crétet or other, came to the master's intimate levee. In the carousel there was audible the clanking of swords of all those extraordinary soldiers of the Great Republic and of the Great Empire. Then Napoleon's door was blocked with heroes, men from the Rhine, from the Escaut, from the Adige, and from the Nile, companions of Joubert, of Desaix, of Marceau, of Hoche, of Kleber, the Aristiers of Fleuris, the Grenadiers of Mayence, the pontoon builders of Genoa, hussars whom the pyramids looked down upon, artillerists whom Jonot's cannonball had spattered with mud, cuirasses who had taken by assault the fleet lying at anchor in the Zuyder. Some had followed Bonaparte upon the bridge of Lodi. Others had accompanied Murat in the trenches of Mantua. Others had preceded Lanes in the hollow road of Montebello. The whole army of that day was present there, in the courtyard of the Tuileries, represented by a squadron or a platoon, and guarding Napoleon in repose. And that was a splendid epoch, when the Grand Army had Marengo behind it and Austerlitz before it. "Sire," said the Minister of the Interior to Napoleon, "yesterday I saw the most intrepid man in your empire." "What man is that?" said the Emperor brusquely, "and what has he done?" "He wants to do something, sire." "What is it?" "To visit the sewers of Paris." This man existed, and his name was Bruneseau. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget, you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. And while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.